What if the teen idol millions admired was secretly fighting a battle no spotlight could reveal? Behind the posters, love songs, movie roles, and perfect Hollywood smiles, some stars were forced to hide who they truly were for years. Fame gave them applause, but silence cost them peace. Today, we uncover 7 powerful journeys of actors and musicians who finally chose truth over image. Subscribe now because some of these revelations may completely change how you remember them forever today. George Michael. George Michael became one of the defining voices of the 1980s, first as the charismatic frontman of Wham, and later as a solo artist whose album Faith made him a global superstar. To millions of fans, he seemed confident, stylish, and completely in control. Songs like Father Figure One More Try and Careless Whisper gave him an image of romance that felt almost effortless. But behind the polished videos and sold-out concerts, George was living with a truth he did not feel safe sharing publicly. The pop industry of that era was not gentle toward artists who challenged expectations, especially male stars marketed as heartthrobs. Keeping his sexuality private became part of survival, but that silence carried a heavy emotional cost. Everything changed in 1998 after a highly publicized incident in Beverly Hills. Instead of disappearing under shame, George chose honesty. In a major interview, he publicly came out as gay, turning a painful media moment into an act of liberation. What makes his story powerful is what came afterward. George did not become smaller. He became more open, more human, and in many ways more respected. He supported LGBTQ+ causes, helped raise awareness around HIV/AIDS, and quietly donated large sums to charities, nurses, and strangers in need. George Michael's journey keeps viewers watching because it reveals the person behind the pop idol. His story was never only about fame or scandal. It was about the cost of hiding the courage to speak, and the peace that can come when someone finally stops performing a role written by others. His legacy remains music generosity and truth. For older fans, that honesty still feels deeply moving today after many years publicly. Neil Patrick Harris. Neil Patrick Harris holds a rare place in American entertainment because audiences watched him grow from a child star into one of television's most beloved performers. Many first knew him as the brilliant young doctor in Doogie Howser, MD, a role that made him famous before he was even an adult. Years later, he reinvented himself as Barney Stinson on How I Met Your Mother, playing a confident suit-wearing womanizer with sharp comic timing. That role made his real-life openness even more significant. In 2006, Neil publicly came out as gay, describing himself as a very content gay man. At the time, some actors still feared that honesty could limit the roles they were offered, especially if they played romantic male leads or broad comedy characters. Neil proved the opposite. His career did not fade, it expanded. He became a celebrated host of the Tony Awards, the Emmy Awards, and even the Academy Awards. On Broadway, he earned acclaim for performances that showed his range, discipline, and charisma. His success helped challenge the old Hollywood assumption that openly gay actors could not appeal to mainstream audiences. Beyond career milestones, Neil also became a visible example of family life. With his husband David Burtka and their twins Harper and Gideon, he shared a joyful public image that many viewers found warm and relatable. Neil Patrick Harris's journey keeps audiences engaged because it shows how authenticity can strengthen, not weaken, star power. He did not lose the public by telling the truth. He deepened the connection. His story reminds viewers that real charisma comes from confidence, honesty, and the freedom to stop hiding behind expectations in life and work before millions everywhere. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando was more than a movie star. He changed the language of acting itself. With performances in A Streetcar Named, Desire on the Waterfront, and The Godfather, he brought raw emotion, silence, tension, and psychological depth to the screen in a way audiences had rarely seen before. For many older viewers, Brando remains the actor who made Hollywood feel more real. But his life off-screen was just as unconventional as his performances. Long before public conversations about sexuality became more open, Brando refused to live neatly inside Hollywood's expectations. He challenged studio control, resisted easy labels, and moved through life with a level of personal freedom that unsettled the industry around him. In a candid 1976 interview, Brando openly discussed personal experiences with both men and women, showing little interest in public judgment. For a leading man of his stature at that time, that kind of honesty was remarkable. He did not present it as a stunt or confession. It was simply part of who he was. Brando also used his fame for causes he believed in. He supported civil rights and Native American advocacy, famously declining his Academy Award for The Godfather in 1973 and sending Sachin Littlefeather to speak on his behalf. His story keeps viewers engaged because it complicates the usual Hollywood legend. Brando was not just masculine, mysterious, or brilliant. He was a man who lived against the mold before the culture was ready to understand that kind of freedom. Marlon Brando's journey reminds audiences that authenticity did not begin with modern celebrity culture. Some stars were challenging expectations decades earlier, quietly reshaping what courage could look like on screen and beyond forever in Hollywood. Jaden Smith. Jaden Smith's story is different from the others because it is less about one public declaration and more about constant refusal to live inside narrow labels. Born into one of Hollywood's most famous families as the son of Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, Jaden grew up with the world already watching. Many viewers remember him from The Karate Kid, where he acted alongside Jackie Chan and proved he had discipline beyond a famous last name. As he matured, Jaden moved away from a traditional Hollywood path. He became a musician, releasing projects like Sire and Eris, filled with introspection, vulnerability, and experimental sound. At the same time, he became a fashion figure wearing styles that challenged old ideas about masculinity and gender expression. His Louis Vuitton campaign drew major attention because he confidently wore clothing traditionally associated with women. For older audiences, that image may have seemed surprising. But Jaden's message was clear. Clothing should not trap people. It should help them express who they are, beyond image. Jaden also built a record of social responsibility. Through his 501c initiative, he helped provide clean water solutions to residents of Flint during the water crisis, showing a compassionate side that headlines often overlook. Jaden Smith's journey keeps viewers watching because it represents a generational shift. He does not ask for permission to be understood before expressing himself. He lives visibly, creatively, and without apology. His story reminds audiences that identity and authenticity are not always explained in a single label. Sometimes they are shown through choices, style, compassion, and the courage to challenge traditions that once seemed unquestionable. In Hollywood, that kind of freedom still feels powerful today for many. Colton Haynes. Colton Haynes became a familiar face to fans of early 2000s supernatural and superhero television, first through modeling and later through roles in Teen Wolf and Arrow. With striking features and a classic leading man image, he seemed perfectly suited for Hollywood's idea of marketable masculinity. To viewers, he looked confident, polished, and ready-made for fame. Behind that image, however, Colton was struggling with anxiety and the emotional weight of hiding his sexuality. Early in his career, he was advised to keep that truth private in order to protect his appeal as a traditional male lead. That kind of pressure may sound invisible, but over time it can become exhausting. The silence affected his health and sense of self. Colton later spoke openly about addiction, depression, and the difficulty of trying to appear perfect while privately feeling overwhelmed. For fans who knew him only as a heroic screen presence, those admissions revealed a far more human story. In 2016, Colton publicly came out as gay, choosing honesty after years of pressure. The decision marked a turning point. Instead of simply playing strength on screen, he began showing real strength in his own life. Through his memoir, Miss Memory Lane, and candid interviews, Colton shared the cost of hiding and the relief of reclaiming his story. His openness helped challenge old Hollywood rules about what kind of actor could be accepted as a hero. Colton Haynes' journey keeps viewers engaged because it exposes the pain behind the perfect image. His story reminds audiences that pretending can look glamorous from far away, but truth is often the only path back to peace. That lesson remains deeply relevant today for young performers everywhere seeking safety. Mark Feehily. Mark Feehily became known to millions as one of the defining voices of Westlife, the Irish boy band that dominated international pop charts with polished harmonies and emotional ballads. Songs like Swear It Again and Flying Without Wings made the group beloved by fans who connected with romance, sincerity, and classic pop storytelling. For years, Mark lived inside the carefully managed world of boy band fame. In the early 2000s, pop groups were often marketed through fantasy, especially to young female audiences. That environment left little room for a male pop star to speak openly about being gay without fearing backlash or career damage. Behind the success, Mark carried a private truth he was not ready to share. That silence became emotionally difficult, especially while performing love songs to millions under an image shaped by industry expectations. In 2005, he made the courageous decision to come out publicly. His announcement mattered because it challenged the rigid expectations placed on male pop idols. Mark later said he felt proud of who he was and no longer wanted the stress of hiding. By choosing honesty, he helped make space for younger artists to live more openly. Beyond music, Mark has also spoken about family and equality. As a father to his daughter Layla, born via surrogacy, he represents a broader vision of love, parenthood, and personal fulfillment. Mark Feehily's journey keeps viewers watching because it shows that chart success does not always equal inner freedom. His story reminds audiences that the most meaningful note an artist can hit is not always on stage. Sometimes it is the moment they finally speak truth clearly without fear or apology to the world today, with pride publicly. Rick Cosnett. Rick Cosnett became familiar to fans through roles in The Flash and The Vampire Diaries, where he often played intelligent, composed, and emotionally layered characters. As Eddie Thawne in The Flash and Dr. Wes Maxfield in The Vampire Diaries, he fit comfortably into the image of a traditional leading man, steady, handsome, and quietly authoritative. But behind the roles was a personal journey he had not fully shared. In early 2020, Rick posted a simple, heartfelt video on social media and said, "I'm gay." There was no elaborate performance, no dramatic staging, and no attempt to turn the moment into spectacle. Its power came from honesty. Rick later explained that he had made a commitment to himself to live authentically. For many people in entertainment, that decision can be difficult because public image often feels tied to future opportunity. Actors are asked to become many different characters, but sometimes struggle to reveal their own truth. The response from fans was largely supportive, showing how much culture had shifted. Many viewers who knew him through conventionally masculine roles saw his announcement as a reminder that identity is far deeper than anything written in a script. Since coming out, Rick has also spoken about mental health and the freedom that comes from releasing secrecy. His journey may not have carried the same dramatic headlines as some others, but its quiet sincerity made it meaningful. Rick Cosnett's story keeps viewers watching because it shows that courage does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it comes in a simple video, a clear sentence, and the decision to stop editing yourself for public comfort. That kind of honesty can change everything inside a person's life quietly. These 7 journeys remind us that fame can create applause while hiding loneliness, pressure, and fear. Behind every poster, role, and love song was a real person trying to live honestly. Which story surprised you most, and which one changed how you see Hollywood? Share your thoughts below, subscribe for more respectful celebrity stories, and stay with us for the next deep dive into truth, identity, and legacy next today.